Hello, and welcome to the second all voiceover video here on the TFL3. Considering how well the video I made on the Overground did, I got the impression from comments that you guys really enjoy this format and want to see more similar videos. And well, here you are. In this video, I want to look at the story of the 4 airport express services that London is home to. These being the Gatwick Express, the Stansted Express, the Heathrow Express, and the Luton Express. To avoid confusion, I am going to split this video into 4 parts, talking about each individual express. But before we get on to the first one, let's just quickly touch on the London airports that don't have express services. Of London's 6 airports, only 2 of them, City and Southend, lack an airport express service, mainly due to them being less busy overall. However, both do have a rail connection. London City Airport was given a station on the DLR in 2005 as part of an extension to Woolwich, and Southend was given a station in 2011 on the Shenfield to Southend line, with it currently being served by Greater Anglia between Liverpool Street and Southend, although the station is managed by the Airport Authority. Anyway, now that's all out of the way, let's get on to our first part of the video, which covers London's oldest airport express. Gatwick Airport was the first airport serving London to get its own railway station, mainly due to it being sited right next to the Brighton Main Line, with the current station opening in 1958, although a previous station had existed since 1935. However, the concept of running an express rail service to the station didn't materialise until the early 1980s, following a major upgrade to the station. The Gatwick Express service then commenced in 1984, running non-stop from London Victoria, with its fleet initially consisting of push-pull trains using Class 73 locomotives, Mark II coaches designated as Class 488, and Mark I cab control cars designated as Class 489. Bizarrely, despite the service running almost entirely within British Rail's Network South East sector, the Gatwick Express was started as part of British Rail's Intercity network, with the trains adopting the sector's iconic black, red and white livery. During privatisation in 1996, the franchise to operate the Gatwick Express service was given to National Express, with them immediately committing to replacing the ageing push-pull trains with new EMU stock, which came in the form of the new Class 460 Coradia Juniper trains, which began to be delivered in 1999 and came into service in 2000, although the older Mark II based stock still remained in service until 2005 due to reliability issues with the Coradias. In 2007, it was announced that the Gatwick Express franchise would be absorbed into the much greater South Central franchise, with the bid for the combined franchise being won by existing operator Govia, with Gatwick Express services joining up with Southern in 2009, mainly to allow for better capacity on the Brighton Main Line south of Gatwick, with express trains running further south at peak times. Around this time, Gatwick Express began receiving several Class 442 units from South West Trains, with this allowing for the more unreliable 460s to be withdrawn by 2012, following which they were converted into Class 458s for South West Trains. By 2015, the Gatwick Express had become part of the much greater Thameslink, Southern and Great Northern franchise, with Govia continuing to operate. That same year, Gatwick Express began running regular services to Brighton, although these new services would only call at Haywards Heath during the off-peak hours, with some stations getting additional service during peak times. The next year, the Class 387 trains began to be introduced on the line, replacing the 442s, which were returned back to the South Western franchise. This pretty much brings us to today, with the only major event since being the brief suspension of the service during the COVID-19 pandemic due to low travel demand. This means today, the Gatwick Express operates a twice-hourly service from Victoria to Brighton via Gatwick, which has terrible value for money. Seriously, take Thameslink instead. Anyway, let's move on to the second oldest airport express. In the 1980s, 2 major projects had commenced in the Essex area which would both contribute to London's second airport express. The first of these was the construction of a new £100 million terminal at London's Stansted Airport, with it intending on becoming London's 3rd busiest in terms of passengers. The second was the electrification of the West Anglia Main Line from Bishop Stortford to Cambridge in 1986, which included a plan for a new branch line serving the new terminal just north of the existing Stansted Mount Fitchett station. Eventually, by 1991, both of these projects were completed, with a new station opening at the airport serving the brand new terminal. That same year, the Stansted Express service was launched by Network South East, running a direct service to Stansted from London Liverpool Street, using a brand new fleet of Class 322 trains painted in a special livery. On privatisation in 1996, the service was handed over to the new West Anglia Great Northern or Wagon franchise, initially operated by Prism Rail, with them continuing to use the original Class 322 units. However, in the year 2000, Prism was acquired by National Express, which eventually resulted in all 5 Class 322 units being transferred to ScotRail. To replace them, Wagon decided to refurbish 9 Class 317 trains with a new interior with new seats and a new blue and orange livery. Eventually, in 2004, the Wagon franchise was divided into 2 separate sections, with the West Anglia section, including the Stansted Express, being absorbed into the new Greater Anglia franchise, which was also operated by National Express, and initially branded as One, although this was eventually changed to National Express East Anglia, with the 317s being repainted appropriately to match this branding. However, part of National Express's franchise commitment was to introduce new stock onto the Stansted Express service, with this materialising in the form of the new Class 379 trains which entered service in 2011, with the 317s returning to regular commuter operations, with some even ending up with London Overground. The next year, the Greater Anglia franchise was awarded to Abellio, which was very bad news for the almost brand new 379s, as in 2016, Abellio had committed to replacing their entire fleet with new Bombardier Aventra and Stadler Flirt trains. The new Class 745 trains eventually entered service on the Stansted Express in 2020, with the barely decade-old 379s being placed into storage 2 years later, although they are soon to be used by Great Northern. This pretty much brings us to today, with the Stansted Express operating a 4-train-an-hour service from Liverpool Street to Stansted via Tottenham Hale, with alternating calling at Bishop Stortford and Harlow Town, with Harlow services also calling at Stansted Mount Fitchett. Considering this is the only direct train to the airport from London, I'd say the value is pretty good, although services to Birmingham and Norwich are also available. Before we start, I should point out I have already gone into considerable detail about the early stages of the Heathrow Express in this video here, so for more information on the pre-1998 stuff, please give it a watch. Heathrow Airport had first been connected by rail in 1977, when an extension of the Piccadilly line was opened. However, the concept of the mainline rail link didn't emerge until the early 1990s, when plans were approved to construct new tunnels linking the airport to the Great Western Main Line out of Paddington, with 2 new stations at Terminals 1, 2 and 3 and Terminal 4, with a new express rail service jointly operated by British Airports Authority and British Rail serving the line. As part of the requirement for the service to run electric trains, the at the time diesel main line from Paddington was electrified as far as Hayes and Harlington. The Heathrow Express finally commenced operations in June 1998, with brand new CAF Class 332 trains running the 15-minute non-stop journey. By this time, privatisation had taken place, with the service running as an open access operator in the hands of the BAA. Until 2005, the Heathrow Express had a monopoly on Paddington to Heathrow services, although this would change with the launch of Heathrow Connect, jointly operated by the BAA and First Great Western, which ran along the same route using Class 360 trains, but instead stopped at all intermediate stations, with these services now forming part of the Elizabeth Line. In 2008, the new station at Heathrow Terminal 5 was opened, which resulted in Heathrow Express trains no longer calling at Terminal 4, with them instead going to Terminal 5, with the Connect taking over services to Terminal 4. Confusing, I know. In 2018, as part of a deal with the DfT, Great Western Railway took over operations of the service from BAA's successor, Heathrow Airport Holdings, although the latter would still manage some elements of the service. Following this, plans were made to replace the original Class 332 trains, mainly due to the fact that their existing depot facilities were to be demolished to make way for Old Oak Common Station on HS2. To replace them, it was decided that 12 of GWR's Class 387 fleet would be repainted and refurbished with a more appropriate interior to work on the Heathrow Express service. This was a more practical measure due to GWR already operating the service anyway, and that these units would be able to use GWR's existing depot facilities at Reading. The refurbished 387s started service on the Heathrow Express in December 2020, with the 332s being withdrawn later that month. That largely leaves us where we are today with the Heathrow Express, with it having the worst value for money of any train in the UK. I mean, seriously, look at that! Now, this last one admittedly isn't technically an airport express, as it's just a brand name for a route that's previously existed, but just for complacency, we'll still cover it. Luton Airport was finally given a rail connection in 1999, when Luton Airport Parkway Station was officially opened, although it did require a shuttle bus to reach the actual terminal. The station was located on the Midland Main Line and was served by the primary Thameslink route between Bedford and Brighton, allowing for an almost direct airport connection to Gatwick, making transfers very easy. The station was also served by intercity services towards Sheffield and Nottingham, operated by Midland Main Line and later East Midlands trains. However, the genesis of the Luton Express we know today came in 2011, when the government announced plans for electrification of the Midland Main Line from Bedford towards Nottingham and Sheffield, as well as a branch line serving a newly reopened station at Corby. The scheme got off to a slow start, but by 2017, electrification had reached Kettering and eventually Corby by 2021. That same year, East Midlands Railway, the successor to East Midlands Trains, began a new electric service known as EMR Connect, running from London St Pancras to Corby via Luton Airport Parkway, Luton, Bedford, Wellingborough and Kettering, using Class 360 trains transferred from Greater Anglia. 2 years later, in 2023, a brand new light railway system was constructed, linking Luton Airport Parkway Station to the main airport terminal, known as the Dart. From this point onward, EMR has attached the brand of Luton Airport Express to its Connect service, due to it now only being a 32-minute journey including the Dart, although the Dart does have separate ticketing. So, there you go. A kind of bizarre airport express service where it's just a brand slapped onto an existing service, but considering the trains run non-stop from London St Pancras to Luton Airport, it still counts. Well, there you have it. That's the story of all 4 of London's airport express services. Quite a long one, I'll admit, but I still think it's quite interesting to learn the incredible history of these trains. Anyway, I really hope you all enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you soon. Farewell.